G'day everyone and welcome back to Luke's Way of Looking. In today's video we're going to be tackling the Ork bomber. Let's jump straight into it, shall we? If you follow me on Instagram, you might recognize this design from an earlier post where I stated that this would stand in as a Deffkoptas. Ultimately, ended up being far too large to be a Deffkoptas. However, I think it would be the perfect base for our bomber. The design you're looking at now is actually my first iteration of a bomber design. I ended up hating it, but we're going to use parts from it and amalgamate these two designs that we've just seen into our final bomber design. So first thing we're going to do is bring both of the old designs into Maya and figure out what parts we want to keep from both. The first thing I'm going to do is remove some of those dangling chains from the pod racer design. Back when I was going to use it as a Deffkoptas, I thought that I might be able to use some chains as the flying support. Realistically, 3D printed chains was never going to be enough to support the weight of the model. However, now we're designing a bomber, I thought the flying support could be some falling bombs. So that's what we're going to do. I'm also going to take some of the parts from the old bomber design, including the cockpit and a few of the armaments, and that's really all I want from that design, so we can get rid of it. I'm going to start laying out these bombs to look as if they're falling, and as I said, this is going to double as the flying support for this vehicle. Over the next few minutes, we're going to be looking at designing a bay for the bombs to fall from. We're also going to be working on the placement of the new armaments and adding a few details. I run into a problem every now and again, especially when working on older designs or modifying older designs, where I don't have the same train of thought that I did back when I was originally creating the design, and I end up editing it so much that there's barely anything left of the original design, and I probably should have just modeled something new to start with. This is pretty much what you've just seen happen. I'm now redesigning the entire lower portion of the cockpit, which is going to serve as a much better base for our ordnance bay as well as the rear engine. In addition to placing individual rivets, I also place individual worlds. Is there an easier way to do this? Probably. This is just the way that I do it. You might be wondering if a detail this small will even show up in a print. To prove that it does, here's a print of the mono wheels that we designed in a previous episode that show the same world design. I think it turned out pretty good. Something that I have done on previous designs and I've decided to do on this design as well is add rods down the middle of my chains. This will be basically invisible once printed, but it does add structural support as well as make it easier to print. With the bulk of the design completed, it's time to draw our attention to this flying support. I said that I wanted to use some falling bombs as a flying support. We need to try and find a balance between structural strength and making it look like these bombs are actually falling out of the bomber. With just the bombs alone, I think the model is going to be too front heavy, so I'm going to sculpt an explosion in Zbrush which will sit under the bombs and hopefully spread the weight of the model further across the base, as well as creating a bigger glue point for our flying support. Another detail that I'm going to add in Zbrush is some smoke trails coming from the back of the front engines. Pretty much just because I think it will look cool. So there it is, guys, the finished Ork bomber design. I really love that I got to use my Ork pod racer idea somewhere in this army, and I think I'm going to use this design as a theme to base my Deffkoptas off. Thanks for sticking around through the whole video. Massive thanks again to all my Patreon supporters. My current supporters' names you can see on screen. Through the help of my Patreon supporters and my family, I have been able to invest in a new 3D printer. I'm now running the Frozen Sonic Mini 4K, which prints ultra crisp. I have a few examples I can show you of some recent prints. If you want to check out my Patreon or any of my other socials, check the links in the description. And if you're interested in buying some of these designs, check out my Cults 3D link, also in the description. I also might be jumping onto my mini factory pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.